Alex Ryvchin. Alex, thanks for your time today. I know you've had
holding up all right?
So much going on.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, describe the last 12, 14 hours for us.
It's been this collision of the predictable and the utterly surreal, where on the one hand, everything that we've spoken about as well for 2 years about the inevitability of bloodshed, of this sort of thing happening, has come to pass. On the other hand, it's just utterly surreal, and we're numbed as a community. We're still contemplating truly what transpired here. We're trying to still get all the facts and the details. Stories are emerging all the time of acts of heroism, of near misses, of loved ones that we've lost. You know, I feel this not only as an Australian and as a Jewish Australian, but this is my little community here, you know, where every year I come to this event and I speak and I stand on the stage with my 3 little kids, and I would have last night like I've done for the last 10 years, but for a family occasion, and you just wonder how close you came. But I'm the blessed one, you know, and people who I know and love deeply were slaughtered in cold blood. Like animals, and they were so vulnerable. They're such soft targets. I mean, every year you kind of look at this place and you sort of sense your vulnerability. You see police around the perimeter, you see Jewish communal security, and you think how easy it would be for something like that to happen, but you put it out of your mind because it's no way to live. And there are people among us who are so barbarous, so filled with hatred, that they would look at an event with jumping castles and face painting and just slaughter people, you know. One of the men who was killed was in his 90s, a Holocaust survivor, who I saw at every communal event, who would come up to me with his beaming smile and offer me media advice and political advice. You know, the rabbi was the best of us. This was a man who got up every morning with the purpose of doing good. That's all he did. He drove around and he gave things to charity, and he fed the needy, and he visited prisoners in far-off prisons. And he just lived to do good things. And I don't know how we recover from this, because you don't replace people like that.
You've got a man who survived the Holocaust to then come to Bondi Beach and be killed.
Yeah. By another set of horrors.
It just doesn't even, you know, you spoke before about how there's this sense of numbness at the moment, right? Because this doesn't feel real. And you said also how, despite all the warnings, you know, I spoke to you only a couple of weeks ago, and you were still then making all these warnings, but you still don't believe that this happens in Australia. You still can't believe that something like this could happen in Australia.
That's right. And when we look back on this as a chapter of history, we'll see how obvious and predictable it was. The escalation from rhetoric to aggressive marches, the glorification and normalization of support for terrorism, the rise of all forms of extremism in our society, and how little was done. We saw the firebombings, but it still seems a quantum leap from even firebombings, which are a ridiculous thing to occur in Australia. From that to a slaughter of innocent people of this scale, you know, to have people just falling in blood in this way at this place.
And we know now the police have confirmed that this was a father and son acting together as a duo. So in a way, their own terror cell. One of them was known to police. We don't know to what extent, but their actions weren't on the police radar. They would have obviously planned this. We know that because of the weapons they had with them, the way the car was rigged. They were planning this, but they managed to get this under the radar. And we're talking about 2 individuals who are filled with such hatred and pure evil.
Yeah.
That is something that's hard sometimes to detect when you're talking about the two.
That's right. I mean, on the face of it, it's not an elaborate plot with different elements. And even those elaborate plots, like the firebombings, which involve foreign regimes and organised crimes and local hoodlums, they still weren't detected before the fact.
The problem is that if there's 2 family members, a 24-year-old and a 50-year-old, who are so filled with hatred, and they're able to perpetrate something like this, is it any wonder, I mean, how widespread is that feeling, which is what you've been worried about? Who has access to those weapons? Who will do something more? Is it any wonder that the Jewish community now, after saying all of this for 2 years, are in fear of going out of their front doors? They fear that they haven't been looked after, that they've been shouting from the rooftops and no one's listened, and look what's happened. So how do you actually go about your daily life now?
Well, for 2 years, we've, on the one hand, spoken about what's happening and shone a light on it and called for action. But on the other hand, we've encouraged our community to be strong and resilient and to keep living as Jews. And the man that exemplified that was Rabbi Eli Schlanger. He was the one who organized this event, who encouraged people to be proud and open in their Jewishness. and he was a light for us, and now he's gone. And so there are conversations that have been happening for 2 years around kitchen tables about, are Jewish schools safe? Is it safe to go to synagogue? But this is of a whole new level where you can't go to the beach, you know, and be Jewish in public. And this was such a fixture of our calendar. This was such a joyous event every single year. And it can never be that again. It'll always be tinged by this horror and this sorrow.
Alex, you would have seen the footage of the hero who tackled one of the gunmen, the perpetrators. He's widely been acknowledged for his incredible bravery. Ahmed al-Ahmed, a Muslim man, you know, the Israeli Prime Minister as well has come out to say, to take note of that. So this is not about religion. This is, these two men, this father and son, were talking about dividing the community. And what we saw yesterday was also a unifying of the community, and that's what we're seeing here today. How important is that message? That's what needs to cut through here, that we don't need to be divided, that we can come together.
We don't, but I think at the same time, the man was a hero. And no one would ever suggest that all Muslims support that sort of violence or wish to carry it out. No one would ever suggest something so sinister and foolish. But at the same time, I don't think we can marginalise this as being isolated, as being two individuals and not indicative of a wider problem.
And Jews were targeted.
That's right. Outright. Jews were targeted at their most vulnerable.
They knew when this event was happening.
They knew when it was happening. They knew that they would be kettled in. They knew that they would be shooting fish in a barrel. And they planned it and they executed it. So we need to understand that there is evil among us, and we need to rip it out by the root and the branch, or it will keep consuming us.
Alex, you have a beautiful articulation of pain and suffering for your community, and may well you keep doing that. We appreciate you being on.
Thank you so much.
And you have some seriously hard days and weeks and months ahead of you, so thank you so much.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Alex.
it. Thank you.